Okay guys, here we are with our next video series, and it's going to be on cookie baking and cookies. So today we're going to make the dough. I will finish this up tomorrow and bake it so you can kind of see that you can make things ahead of time. So we're doing chocolate chip cookies this time. What you need is probably recommended that you have some kind of a mixer. You can do it without a mixer. You could do it with an egg beater or a hand mixer. A stand mixer is kind of nice. And we're going to use our margarine, butter, always better butter, 2 eggs, 1 cup of sugar, our brown sugar, flour, baking soda, it's going to be our leavening agent, and salt, okay? We're going to use a KitchenAid stand mixer. And we are going to use the paddle attachment because the dough gets kind of thick and the whisk would not do well. So we push it in and up. So the first thing we're going to put in our mixing bowl is going to be our butter, and we're going to use 1/2 pound of butter, or what is equal to 2 sticks. This is a really large recipe. Yeah, makes a lot of cookies. A lot of cookies. And this has been sitting out at room temperature for a little while. You do not melt your butter, not at all. No melting of butter. But you do let it get room temperature so that you can mix it. I'm going to anchor the bowl in really nicely. I'm going to turn this on, and we're going to turn it on kind of a low temperature, a beating. I'm going to let it beat for a little while, okay? And while you're doing that, I am going to get the sugar. To be 1 cup of sugar. So you have okay, put that back on you. There's a little niche there. You push it in there and push it over. Yeah, I'm going to do that. There. Butter is not as soft as it should have been. So I let it sit out for a while. So you're going to have to mix this for a while. This technique is called your butter and sugar until it's creamy. This is really important in cooking and bake making because it kind of incorporates the sugar into the fat. It kind of creates little air pockets. Okay, so now it looks kind of like scrambled eggs. It doesn't taste like scrambled eggs, it looks like it. And it's creamy. So everything has been kind of creamed together. Yeah, that's okay, it looks good. I mean, for what it is. So the next thing it says here is we're gonna add 2 eggs. So I have my eggs. And like I told you before, in other videos, I find, my videos look nicer, okay? I find that if I crack an egg 1 at a time, in a bowl, it's just safer because that way if I make a mistake and the egg shell gets in there, I don't lose my whole recipe. So we'll let that go for a minute. I'll do my second egg. So now it's starting to even look, now the eggs are giving it moisture. And so now I have to put in 1 teaspoon of vanilla flavoring. And again, this is better, 1 teaspoon, to measure it over the side or away from your bowl so that if you do spill it, you don't mess up your whole recipe. 1 teaspoon of vanilla flavoring. And the vanilla flavoring is pretty important to give it that extra flavor. It's very common in any kind of baked goods, okay? So that's gonna mix. Okay, now that's all nice and smooth and creamy. Well, we're gonna put our dry ingredients. You're gonna see a lot of videos where they just dump the dry ingredients in there. That's fine. I prefer to get them ready here, and I'll explain why. The first dry ingredient item is going to be our flour, and we are going to put, I almost forgot the brown sugar. That would have not been good. And that's why you always constantly check your recipe. I probably should have had everything measured out before. 1/2 cup of brown sugar. So we're gonna find our 1/2 cup. We're gonna use our spatula, and we're gonna, remember we packed in our brown sugar like a sandcastle. So the brown sugar needs to be packed in so you have it nice and firm. A lot of sugar in this recipe. Of course, it's cookies. 1/2 cup of brown sugar. You don't eat cookies and expect to be at diet food, do you? Put it in my dirty pan. That over there, so you don't. Now we're going to mix this a little bit more because we had added the brown sugar. Okay, now we're going to add our 2.5 cups of flour. 2.5 cups of flour. Remember, you spoon the flour in because you don't want to dip it and pack it in there. 2.5 cups. I'm going to check myself again. 2.5 cups. There's your flour. And then salt is 1 teaspoon of salt. And a teaspoon of baking soda. The reason why I like to put my stuff in a separate bowl like this because if I just dumped it in the bowl there, I have this fear of getting this big mouthful of baking soda or baking powder or salt when I bake my cookies. So you want to mix this up. The video I showed you for the sugar cookies, the rolled cookies, he mixed it by hand. You can do that. I just do a little bit at a time. I'm going to put some of my flour in there, not all my flour. If you put all your flour in there, when you turn the mixer on, it's going to go in your face. So we're going to do a little bit, and we're going to see how nice and low the mixer's on. It's just stirring it. You're going to take this in a minute, and you're going to kind of scrape your bowl. Okay, so now I'm going to add another spoonful. Good idea to turn it off because you don't want that to hit you in the face. And trust me, I've done that a few times. And I'm also going to take my scraper rubber spatula, and I'm going to kind of scrape the sides of it. Okay, so it's nice and starting to mix, and now I'm going to pull it up again and just take my time and add the rest more flour. And tilt this bowl on the side so you can get to the last bit of flour. So at this point, you could probably dump it all in. There. Put that in there. Now, cookie dough is amazing, but it does have raw eggs in it. So just remember, whenever you eat something with raw eggs in it, you do have that slight chance of getting salmonella. We're gonna put these things aside. Clean up your area as you go. Now you have your cookie dough. You're gonna get as much of it off the beater as you can. You don't wanna waste a drop or a cookie. Yeah. And you can kind of take the beater, push up and turn it, and it'll come off. If you have, there's a lot of different kinds of mixers and they're all pretty great. We have got it off. Okay, now we're going to put our mixer aside, and we're going to scrape the sides of the bowl. And we are going to now add our Toll House chocolate chips. So this recipe calls for 1 cup. If you're doing it at home and you have more than 1 cup, that's fine. You could probably add more than 1 cup to stir this with because the spoon is stronger than anything else to stir it with. And I don't usually do this with the mixer, the chocolate chip part, because then it, I don't know, it just kind of cuts up the chocolate chips. So you just stir this in here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in the refrigerator and let it chill. And then my next step will be to put them on the cookie sheet and bake them, okay? So that's pretty easy. We did that in like 25 minutes, okay? So this will make, when we come back, this will make about 36 cookies. Decent sized cookies. So it's a good recipe, okay? We'll be back soon. Hi guys, okay, it's day 2. And now we are going to actually bake the cookies. I made the cookie dough yesterday and it was late, so I couldn't bake them. Plus they also do a little better if you chill them a little bit before you bake them. They're just a little bit easier to handle. So now I have my oven preheated. I have my cookie dough, and I'm going to show you how to put them on the pan, and we are going to bake them. And then I'll show you how to tell when they're done. Okay? And we're going to bake cookies. Okay, I had to make sure they're clean. And the first thing we're going to do is get out some parchment paper. My oven is preheated to 375 because these cookies need to caramelize and brown. This recipe makes 3 dozen of relatively small cookies. Now, we could do either the drop cookie method, which is 2 spoons, or we could do the scoop method. Now this is kind of a big scoop, but I'll do it this way. Now if you see the cookie dough, it's been in the refrigerator overnight. I let it sit out just a little bit to get to room temperature. And I am going to use the cookie scoop, to put the balls on there. Now these do spread out, so you don't want them too close together. So we're going to put cookie dough on these sheets so that you have your cookies. And I would say, because these are so big, I'm gonna probably put them 2 apart. Now, another thing you can do with this is I'm gonna put the cookies out, and I'm not gonna bake them all today. I'm gonna actually put the cookie sheets in the freezer and let them freeze, a couple of them, so that I could have cookies in the future without having to make the whole dough all over again. Yeah, you're gonna have to handle a little bit with your hands. And that's how to do it with the spoon. With the cookies, all the same size. Now, if I wanna do it with a 2-spoon method, I would take my cookie dough with my spoon, and I would simply put it on the sheet like that. It doesn't look that much different. It's a little harder to make them exactly the same size, but they're still close, okay? So we're gonna do that until we have all the cookie dough on sheet. Same thing. Do some more. And do some more. There. You can make these cookies big. I now have my cookies placed on my parchment paper, so I don't have to really prepare the cookie sheet so much because the parchment paper does it for me. Now, a cookie sheet means it doesn't have sides, so you couldn't bake a cake or something on this because it would run off. But cookies, you don't have to worry about that. So I'm going to slide my parchment paper here, and if there's an edge that kind of hangs over, I'm going to fold it under so it's not hanging over the cookie sheet. What I'm going to do is I either will wait and be patient, or I will put them like this. I'll stagger them. Now, what I would do if I stagger them, I would do them 5 minutes, and then after 5 minutes, I take them out and I switch them so that they're not always, they kind of alternate so they all get the same amount of heat. So I'll put this one in, and this one I'm going to put staggered.